All right, everyone. Do you remember the good old days, like 10 years ago, when people on the left, like the newly minted millennials, when they were younger, early 20s as opposed to early 30s? You remember when they used to chuckle about corporations and it's just a ruse when corporations like sprinkle their company with a few minorities because they're basically, I mean, it's almost a bigoted statement in itself. They're saying, oh, like, man, we have so many skirts here. We have so many black employees. Look at how wonderful we are. And really, it's just a drop in the bucket, and it's just done for show. And they make some meaningless diversity position, like, oh, the vice president of chairperson of diversity, multiculturalism, and tolerance. And ultimately, that's just like a total cop out. It's just like having an HR department, human resources. What do they actually do? They study some Scientology new think or some bullshit like that, and then they regurgitate it off on the stressed worker to try to make a big show about caring about whether their workers are happy or not. The only thing they care about is that people show up for work and keep making money. They keep them marginally happy enough when they can so that they'll continue to work there and so that morale doesn't dip so low that people start fleeing the company. That's really what they're concerned about. Yeah, I remember when the same people that I'm seeing now, around my age, we're talking roughly mid 20s to early 30s. I'm somewhere in the middle of that group, of course. I can remember when these people, like 10 years ago, they were like almost new wave hippies saying, oh, war sucks, censorship sucks, domestic surveillance sucks, corporations are generally problematic in nature. Socialism isn't going to work, by the way, because centralizing more power under our government certainly never going to help anything. These people have flipped all these things on their heads to the point where the left is now waging a war on science, saying, oh, we can ignore human biology and behavioral psychology and everything else under the sun because it doesn't agree with our very, very strange worldviews. They've been so indoctrinated by so much propaganda. It's so sad to see so many people that are unable to think for themselves. Like, they need to turn on the TV to get their opinions. Even those that have cut the cable. They're off watching, like, the Young Turks or something. And they're just getting constant state propaganda aimed at them. And then the same token, they ramble about Russia and say, oh, Russian state propaganda has fooled all of these other people in the world. Yes, okay. Where's your evidence? There is none, but okay. Used to be considered laughable for a corporation to start rambling about how diverse it was. Because it's basically the corporate answer to saying, oh, I have so many black friends, so don't look at me, I have no bigoted views. Look, I have a couple of African orphans in my home. Look at how multicultural I am, or something like that. That's just so bad. It's just so laughable. It's so hilarious. It's so off the wall. It's like something you'd see in a sitcom. Watching Google ramble about the need for diversity in the workplace, or watching Mark Zuckerberg talk about how people need to develop more tolerance. So you've got some rich person who runs a corporation that gives user data to like the communist Chinese or the House of Saud or to Putin himself to prosecute people for wrongthink over there, and they're going to tell other people what is moral and what is just. You got some company like Apple that has like slave sweatshops over in the third world compiling everything. They're going to talk about the need for multiculturalism in the world. Bullshit. It's just nonstop propaganda that the millennial generation was addled by, and a lot of them fell for it. I like to think I'm one of the more intelligent millennials, because I didn't fall for it. I feel generally bitter towards organized religion, generally accepting of science. They're going in the totally other direction. I'm like an outcast in my own generation. Like, my advice to Gen Z has been, don't pay any fucking attention to the average millennial. People around my age, you should generally ignore them because they're way off in la la land. Their minds have been melted by watching too much CNN, too many Young Turks videos, listening to Obama speeches a little bit too much, and now that's actually their worldview. So, like, the same people that said, well, these drone strikes are barbaric and monstrous when they started happening under W, when we developed sort of the modern tech associated with drone warfare. Obama, quadrupled down on the death toll drone related. And they're like, yay, drone war is so great. Obama's the savior. He deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. The same people that were saying, oh, these tech firms, they were saying, this was a long time ago. They were saying, oh, Facebook and YouTube and some of these firms, they're working for the man. They're trying to keep like anti-war, anti-surveillance content dumbed down and manipulate algorithms to keep it out of the public specter. Then all of a sudden now they're applauding them for firing people for having the wrong opinions on like sex or race or something like that. And it's fantastic to watch just how quickly the flip happened. It's part of the larger social paradigm movement. And now the right is like pro-science, doesn't want to invade third world nations or conduct limitless drone warfare, and is getting more anti-religious, and people on the so-called left, they're like praising the Pope and stuff like that. It's like, whoa, the times they are a-changin', I suppose. But we used to laugh at these corporations, have a good time reaming them for saying, oh yeah, look, our CFO is Hispanic. Look at how diverse we are. We hired one person who's not white and male, so look at how diverse and tolerant we are. And it was always a throwaway. It was always propaganda. It was always laughable. It's like watching an episode of Archie Bunker or something like that. It has All in the Family. Now they actually take that seriously. It's just like their opinions on the Pope. The Pope comes out and says, oh, well, yeah, okay, you can use condoms if you have AIDS. It's, oh, wonderful and progressive. Meanwhile, the Pope's sitting back saying all manner of other things that sound like they're straight out of the medieval era, honestly. Like the usual Catholic functions of their dogma. And they totally ignore it. They get so much cognitive dissonance because their friends in the lamestream media told them the Pope was a great progressive guy on the issue of condoms for people with AIDS and border walls. See, the Pope doesn't care if nations get inundated as long as some of them are Catholics, because then he can make money off them. Because they own a lot of corporate endeavors too. They own apartments, motels, restaurants, publishing firms, a gay bathhouse apparently in Italy. That's owned by the Catholic Church. Or it was. Trust us, it's no longer being used for that purpose. It's just a regular bathhouse now, says the Pope. Just don't read too much into it. All those politicians probably going there on a regular basis with their dubiously aged friends or something like that. That's basically how it works. Isn't this funny? I would think this is like the greatest opportunity. This is the greatest period of time that we've seen in modern humanity for people to make jokes. Like stand-up comedians that are limiting themselves to, oh, I'm going to dress up as Trump and say incoherent stuff for half an hour and get paid for doing that. You're missing the greater point. Things are so topsy-turvy and confused right now. The jokes write themselves so much. You don't even have to work. Like why even write the jokes down? Just ramble on about whatever happened in the last couple of days, and it's going to be solid comedy gold. But these people are so suppressed by like the PC crap that they don't want to do that. That's the other part. The left has become pro-censorship. Very much so. They're basically where the far right was, maybe in the Bush era, when they're like, oh yeah, we need to look through people's library records and suppress all sorts of websites, and we need to police social media to make sure people aren't, doing, Allah stuff and things like that. And that's what they were doing. And it was all very funny. It was all very charming at the time. And then they switched over. And now the right's like, oh no, censorship is a bad thing. And the left is like, it's a good thing. They don't even realize their ideology is basically the same as the exact counterpart ideology they used to fight against. That's their new ideology. It's like, are you people, what drugs are you using? They must be pretty good. I guess they switched from marijuana to something a lot stronger. Maybe they're taking ketamine or something. They must be. PCP. And that's basically what the millennial left appears to have done. They've become democratic partisans, despite the fact that they used to fight against like the corporate power and corporate greed stuff and make a big deal about it. Oh, we're going to save the world. plant more trees, drop less bombs. Corporations, we need to do something about them because they're abusing human rights like over in China. When's the last time you heard anybody in the American left mention China? Except in the context of saying China's better than the US now because Trump was elected. Seriously, when's the last time you saw anything critical of Chinese human rights abuses in the corporate media? Years ago. You haven't seen any substantial write-up on it lately. They're handling them with kid gloves. What investigative journalism is actually going on? You've got situations where they have to install suicide nets in their factories over in these countries that Crapple or Facebook are using for their outsourced labor. And they don't talk about that. And these people are actually applauding these corporations then as well for working with like the US or foreign governments to censor users. They're attacking science. They're embracing organized religion. At what point do we say it's not really the left anymore? It's really more of a reactionary movement, almost in some ways. That's what it seems to be. I know the old line, some people in the alt-right are critical of this. They'll say, well, the Dems are the real racists or the left is the real fascist line is bullshit or something. I don't know, though. There does seem to be some validity to it. The Democrats are indeed partnering with an awful lot of multinational corporations, giving them a hell of a lot of leeway and really, really sheltering them from tax reform. They are indeed arguing that they should have undue power over what people say or believe. At what point do we make the connection here? It's becoming a problem. It's becoming a prevalent issue within Western societies that groups that used to be primarily, hey, workers' rights, and people need to be treated with some degree of respect, and governments need to sort of back off on the censorship and war thing. And they've done a 180. Now they're arguing exactly against the same points that they made only a decade ago. Like most of the people that I used to connect with a decade ago that were, they were far left. They were arguing for all of these different points. They are either part of the new right now, or they've stayed with the same positions and don't even realize they've become like pro-totalitarianism. So we used to joke about all these things. I guess it's not really much of a joke anymore. It's still hilarious, but it's not a joke. They actually think these things because they're so mind-numbed by corporate and government propaganda. They actually think that the surveillance they argued against is now necessary, that the censorship they used to disdain is now a good thing, that the wars that they used to oppose are now wonderful. It's great to invade random countries so long as a handful of Democrats are involved in sponsoring the bill that's going to bring you to the brink of World War III. Oh, that's fine. Let's antagonize Russia some more. It's like the latest hypocrisy that I see from the left, the latest. They're worried that Trump is going to start World War III somehow by attacking North Korea. Meanwhile, they're ignoring the fact that they've been steadily more and more antagonizing Russia, which actually does have a modern nuclear deterrent. With several rounds of sanctions, constant haranguing, constant, what the Russians say are spurious claims of attempting to interfere in our elections. That's somehow not dangerous, but it is dangerous to threaten North Korea. Does that make any sense whatsoever? No, it doesn't, but they think it does. They're that fooled by propaganda. That's about all. Peace out.